All right, guys, what's up, everyone? Good day to you from both me and Tim, who is with me. Tim, could you maybe say something so we can check if
Hello,
you're being
everybody.
all right, guys, that was Tim on the other end. If you can hear Tim, please let us know in the chat. Or if you cannot hear him, let us know, and then I'll go for a break and figure out what's going on. But according to me, you should be able to hear him. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over the statistics a little bit. As we can already see, we are feeling bullish. We have been feeling bullish. And what we're going to do is that I'm going to go over some of good setups that we're seeing right now. And when I see some good setups on the daily, probably I will. All right, we can hear both of you. Amazing. What's up, Thomas? Call of Thomas, son of legendary Rick HFT. Good to see you here, man. It's really awesome that you guys are doing this with your dad. But I'm going to go through the dashboard. We're going to look for some setups. And then Tim is going to take it over and take some of those setups and chart them with his TA, what he does best, and see if there's any good entries and take profits and so on. So without further ado, because I know Tim has to leave in 50 minutes, we'll get started. So I'm going to kick this off, and then Tim's going to take over. All right. So first of all, we come to the multi-time frame analysis chart, and we can already see that we see a lot of bull. We see a lot of strong bulls on the weekly. We see a lot of strong bulls on the daily. These are the signals I look out for. My threshold settings are the following. I'm going to dive into this a little more, but you know, it's already pretty clear what we're going to look for today, right? Like this is all you need to see. If you see predominantly green on both the weekly and the daily, then you know that's what you're looking for long plays. I've already shared in the Discord yesterday that I personally would not pay any attention to shorts to begin with in the current environment. And the very simple reason for that is that we are coming from this range low, this massive range low, and we reclaimed it. And I don't want to dive into it too much because it will take time away for us to be able to handle setups from the dashboard. But there's a lot of reasons to be bullish coming from this. I've been bullish ever since this low, as some of you might know. So or the way I see it, it just makes a lot. The aggregated probabilities will be shifted towards the bull side, which is why I said yesterday I personally wouldn't take any shorts, even though the daily was bearish. But today we see things that are a lot more better. So from a TA perspective, we are bullish. And now from a statistical perspective, we are bullish on both the weekly and the daily. So what I would do first is go on the weekly time frame, but we can stay there pretty shortly. Let me show you this. Let me close one thing. I'm running too many applications. There we go. Should be better. So what we can see here is that clearly, once again, this Monday has been absolutely a beast. If we close this week with the Monday holding as the low, that would mean the last 16 out of the last 17 weeks at Monday as P1, which is an absolutely insane streak. But anyway, what I wanted to hint at is that even though the weeks are looking bullish in terms of the statistics, and the reason they're looking bullish is, the strong bull signals is because there's a very low chance for a lot of assets to take out the low, right? So here, once again, we can see the lower this is, the lower the chance we're going to take out P1. In this case right here, we see that P1 is the low because we're bullish. Let me move this one somewhere where it's not in the way. Bullish, and we still have, for a lot of assets, we have a lot of room to go to the upside. But this is the thing I want to say. So the current retracement column is showing you where the retracement currently is. So this case, let me find Bitcoin. It's saying that we're currently at the 0.2 retracement, and that is measured from the weekly low to the weekly high. So if you're looking to take a trade based on the weekly, then there you go. You see it's around that 0.2 area. And if I'm a little bit lagging, it's because I'm running quite some heavy stuff now on my computer, and I noticed that my 2019 MacBook Pro is not very capable of it anymore, so I need to buy a new one. But anyway, we're about the 0.2 retracement, which is what this column is saying, and the reason I use it is because if I want to take a trade, when you want to use P1 as my stop loss, so say I want to use this as my invalidation, I want to have like a proper risk to reward ratio, and I know that the 0.2 is not going to give me that, right? I would be looking at the 0.5 or the 0.6 retracement, so a little bit lower. So immediately now I can see, yes, we're bullish, will likely go higher, but the entries at least are not on the weekly. The entries are going to be on the lower time frame. So that's going to be the daily, the 8 hour, the 4 hour, and so on, right? So we do have a weekly buy for up, but right now what I would be concerned with is the daily. I think that's where we're going to find the setups that Tim can chart for us. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So we move on to the daily time frame. And I've already filtered for the best setup. So once again, I have these settings. I want to have this column bigger than 55% and this column less than 25%. This is what I would consider my very high probability setups. And then we can see two assets immediately standing out from here. So these are these two. The reason why I think they're standing out is because, let me say that all of these have a high probability of continuing higher, right? We have P1 to P2 direction is bullish. We have P1 to bigger distance is low. So this is what we've talked about today in the Discord. I remember that I realize there's some confusion on this, but for now, don't want to get into it too much. I will cover it tomorrow in another stream. But the lower this is, the less likely P1, P2 is going to flip, right? So Alice has the lowest probability of flipping the daily low. And then, this ball coin, I actually don't even know what it is, what the full name is. It's the highest probability of the low probability assets, right? Because this is filtered for high probability continuation plays. So all of these have a high probability of the daily low holding, which is daily P1. And they also all have a high probability of having more distance between P1 and P2. And the two that are get out are these two, right? So Ethereum and Curve both are around 10%, just above. But this arrow down is saying that the recent trend is indicating that it's happening even less, right? So that's good for us. That means it's even more confident for P1 to hold recently. So over the whole time frame, what I selected here, it's likely to hold, but even recently, even more likely. Just what the recent trend is doing. And we have a really high value for this. This is actually crazy if I look at it. So these two stand out because they also have had a good retracement. Ethereum is at the 0.6 retracement right now, and Curve is at the 0.5 retracement. If I select both of these, and well, we can see that ETH has the current P2 at hour 1, and Curve has the current P2 at hour 2, which is not my favorite setup in terms of time-based statistics. I would rather have it during the London session or somewhere a little bit later on, because these are still good times to put in a P1. 2, not so much. So I would say that Curve is actually looking more or less a little bit better, but then Ethereum as well. So if we go to the Ethereum chart, Ethereum and Curve are the two main coins I would be looking at for continued upside, because there's a very high probability we're gonna go have more distance between P1 and P2. Ta-da. And see that the retracement is now more or less around the 0.6. So the one remark I want to make is that if you have this high of retracement then or level for days with more distance, then you have to realize it can also be in the other direction, right? That's why it's so important to determine P1 is safe. In terms of price action, I personally actually don't like this too much, because we had this this SFP sweep here and are going down afterwards, which is something I personally do not like to see. Let's quickly check out Curve. Then this price action looks a little bit better, in my opinion. But I'm not going to be the one to judge this. I want to hand it over to Tim here, which I think he was already looking at Ethereum. So I'm going to hand this over. The statistics are favoring upside for Ethereum, and as I'm saying, it is nuking. So let's see what happens. But I want to hand this one over to Tim. let him do his TA and see if there's a case to be made in terms of TA for more bullishness. Like I said, I'm already, if I see this, a massive liquidity grab from equal highs, that's not something I personally prefer to see. I would be cautious, but I'm gonna see what Tim has to say on that.
Yes,
Tim?
yes, I'm here. Could you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great, man. Thank you, first of all, for that I'm being here and doing this live stream together again, second time of last week, and yeah, now we will see how if we can find now some great setups, but overall, what Sergio already tells us that the overall direction is bullish. I agree on that. I think we could see higher prices from here, but I'm also looking more or less for a retracement to the downside. I don't know if it will happen today, otherwise tomorrow. And also perhaps on a Friday we could seek for another potential P2 target. Also, if you look on the, let me see the time on the weekly. The most of the time on statistics, we have on Friday the best chance to put in P2. So in that case, perhaps we could see today or at least tomorrow a little bit of a pullback to the downside. But let's dive into, first of all, ETH, because of these two are the most interesting one to look at because of the current retracement. Let me check once again what Sergio already showed us. That was ETH and CRV. I will select these two. So first check, let's check ETH. On a higher time frame, we could see right here, we didn't grab liquidity as Bitcoin did, but we had a bullish inside close last week, and this week, current week, is also retracing to the upside. We have here some liquidity resting at 35.23. I think that will be a target. It will be used as a magnet. And just below of that, the price is the P2 of this current week. I will mark that out right there. It's just below of that, so that could be working as a target. We are also trading above the monthly open and of course the weekly open. So let's dive a little bit in on a lower time frame. We swept yesterday's highs, but we didn't sweep this one. So that could be a target for today because also of the statistics. And then we will continue to the downside. That is what I'm expecting for today. And then a pullback towards that daily fair value gap that is inside imbalance. And then from there, perhaps continue again higher. That is what I'm currently looking at. If we are losing this, the daily open and the pivot point 1, so the daily low of today, then we could see lower price into here directly. And but what I expect a little bit here is to continue to go to the upside, take out the liquidity. Then we see a little bit of an SFP, swing failure pattern, take out this liquidity, and then go down from there. So let's dive into a lower time frame from here. We have the daily open and that P1 is sitting at 34.40. It's not the best pivot because a pivot to me is more better pivot for me is, for example, is this one right here. If you have a pivot as a valid lower high. So in this case, we have here a pivot into a middle of a candle. So we could see also SFP of this one right here. So that is the only thing I don't like about this, based on TA. We have also here a kind of an auto block. Monthly open is just below of it, and of course the daily open. So that is the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. But yeah, it's still not a possibility, of course, that we will take out that high during the New York session and then continue to go to the downside. So if you want to enter this position, perhaps you had already to do that, then this will be your setup, right? Just validation just below the P1 of today, so just slightly below 34.40, and yeah, from there the target will be the liquidity above, and then you need to go out of the trade, in my opinion. So that could be a setup for today. I will not short it because what also Sergio tells us already that we will continue further up to the upside. So I'm more interested if we are going to lose this region right here, then I'm sitting on my hands and wait for the next opportunity in that daily fair value gap. It's also above the weekly open, and we have here the weekly pivot point 1 that is resting here. I'll mark that one out right here. That is the weekly low. So I'll give it a name on the weekly. So it's a weekly P1. This is a great area to look for a short opportunity. We have here also here a 1 hourly fair value gap into the daily, but this is a great setup. If this is appearing, we have here some liquidity taking out. So something like this, then the setup, if it shows up, would be something like this, right? And then target the high where it is sitting then. So yeah, let's say, okay, this will be the setup, right? I don't know, I will not limit that, but you can check when we are coming there, looking at market structure or looking at combining these statistics with that day when we are into that region right there. So this is, in my opinion, a good zone to enter for the next leg to the upside for continuation. Then dive into CRV. I hope this is clear. If not, let me know in the chat, please. Then Sergio will tell me that.
Yeah, maybe cool to Tim, like just to drop in one little thing because I like that week because that's more like a weekly setup, right? Because where's the weekly low is right at 3.2. So
Yes.
then it's maybe because I'm just looking with a half an hour. My dashboard is not loading at the moment. There you go on the what statistics are saying for ETH at the moment for the week because I think we already have some data for that.
Yes, of course. Let me check.
Yeah, there's so yeah, so it's good statistics as well for ETH for further upside, which further strengthens that idea. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, there you have it.
Yes, it's bullish.
Yeah, and there's the P1's big distance, only 20%. So only 20% do we have a pivot further away, and then we know that we have the Omega Uber Monday as P1, which has been incredible. So
Yeah, there's a high probability to hold, and I see bigger opportunities around Friday and the weekend again for
yeah,
further continuation to the upside.
so that bigger play that you just charted is also statistically really nice play if that would happen.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
All right, CRV.
Okay, let's dive into CRV. Let's start over with a higher time frame. Of course, I will clear this out. We are at the lows, as you can see on this coin, at least on Bybit on the monthly chart. Okay, let's dive into the TA. Here we have the weekly open, and just below of that we have that weekly low. Something like this. Let me see, do we have some internal liquidity above us that will be used as a magnet, but that is far away. Don't think that will be hunted by this week. clearly we're at the lows. Let's see on the daily. What do we see on the daily right now? Okay, price just stepped into this yesterday at this daily fair value gap. And we have here above liquidity. Let's see on the daily what's more interesting. We have a wick to the downside right here. That is also that weekly pivot one. It's made on Tuesday, I see, not on Monday. So let's see that one. CRV. Do I say it correctly? Yes, I do. Okay, on the daily, yeah, we are clearly into right now a uptrend. Rejected here at the daily fair value gap. Let's see on a lower time frame what we can do right there. One moment. Let's take out the daily open for today. That's the daily open. Give it another color. And then also the P1 that is sitting right here. It's also the same story as ETH. It's also not a clear pivot on at least on the 1 hour. On the 15, also not a clear pivot. I'm not quite sure where is the P1 or P2 that is sitting right there for today. Okay, let's see. Based on statistics, we should come higher. Price already mitigate this 15-minute fair value gap right there. It tapped into it during London. So then you can try this one, this setup. Target a new P2. But just as ETH is not giving me that confidence that this is a clear pivot to me. So based on TA at least, but the risk to reward is okay. What is telling us the daily time frame? CRV 56% of holding. Yes, it's telling us that we are going higher, that the daily low has more chance to hold. 4 hourly, it's 30 minutes to go. What does that tell us? The 4 hourly, that this one is likely to hold. Okay. So in that case, for your risk to
Yeah,
reward, it's okay to take a scalp like this.
but I agree with you in terms of the pivots. Like for me, the best trades are always when statistics and TA line up. And for
Yeah,
me, in terms of TA, this is a more risky trade because it's clearly prices in a compressed price action and liquidity is being built up on both sides. And like you said, you want the pivot to be an actual pivot. And right now it's not, because it also means that liquidity was taken. And right now the pivot looks like liquidity needs to be taken, right? So there's the difference.
yeah, exactly. And this is a clear pivot, right? The
Clear
P2.
pivot,
This one is a clear pivot for me.
clear pivot. And the same is on ETH. Like there, the high is also, that's a really clear pivot. Took liquidity.
Yeah,
So that's
agree.
what you want to see. So for me, these setups would not be something I would personally take. If you do only statistics, you could do it, but like I said, and I think you agree as well, that the best setups are when statistics and TA align. It's already going for it.
Yeah, I agree on that.
But there are, in cases like this, because also if you go to the summary page of the dashboard, then you can, or the high probabilities. I'm just gonna show that real quick. Or no, wait, you can actually show it. There's still, because what I like to do here is that there's still other setups that didn't retrace as much. But right now they are retracing more. So what we set first, and I'm just gonna show it to the people on the stream. I'm quickly switching to my screen here. And Tim, I know you cannot see this, but if you just look at the daily summary page, what I said first is that most of the setups do not have proper retracement yet, except for ETH and CRV. But right now, since we're going lower and things are not looking too good in terms of pivot, you can also say, well, this ETH and CRV might go lower and take out those lows today. It is an improbable event, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen during price action like this. And if we know that it's going lower, we know that the ones that didn't retrace as much, so Alice, Rune, AR, are now, we can already see it, are now actually retracing. So Alice is now at the 0.3, Rune is at the 0.4. So now things are getting more interesting. So what I'm saying is that apparently ETH and CRV, they had big retracements, but in the current price action, you could also say, well, maybe these are the coins that are showing weakness today, whereas the other ones are holding stronger at the highs. So Tim, maybe it would be interesting to check out Alice and Rune, which are now retracing properly and have the best probabilities.
And not LDO. I just found out LDO, perhaps also one.
Yeah, could also be, but I think Alice and maybe, yeah, just check out, scan over each of them, Alice, LDO, and Rune, and see which one has on first glance the best price action.
Right.
Maybe
Let's
there's a
go.
difference.
Let's see. Right, daily. Daily open. We don't have a bottom wick, man, on the
No,
daily.
so also doesn't look too nice
Nope.
on that sense.
Look out this liquidity also,
Also
right?
took liquidity there. Yeah.
We have some liquidity to take, but we don't have a bottom wick on the daily. I don't like that. So also not on the 4 hour, no wick on the 4 hour. It starts, of course. And this is also on the 4 hourly resistance right there. So yeah, it's also not a pivot to me, and we have no bottom wick, so this one isn't interesting for me at least.
All right. There you go.
And Rune, you said, right?
Rune, yeah.
Let's dive into that for Rune. Let's get it on out. Monthly. The previous month was quite bearish, but we have that retracement. Let's see on the weekly. We have some liquidity to be taken that isn't taken right now. So that is a good sign. It's resting right there. We have a weekly open at here. It's a weekly open. Mark out the blue. And we have also here the weekly P1. P1 just below that weekly open. On the daily, we didn't take out this liquidity, and we have also resting there some liquidity, but that will be the target because we have here now on the daily, we have here P1, P1, and the daily open just above of it. So yeah, this is looking more interesting, I think. Daily open. For hourly. Let's see. What do we have? We have here a for hourly fair value gap. Didn't tap yet. 1 hour is looking bearish so far. We have also a clear pivot, that is the P2 right now. So, and we have here a 1 hourly fair value gap. I think this one is liquidity because the most people will put their stops below of this wick. And if they didn't take out profits right there, they will get stopped out. So that is what I'm seeing at least. So price will seek this internal imbalance and then it should go higher from there. But again, this isn't a great pivot, right? It's also looking the same as ETH.
Tim, someone in the
Yes,
chat's asking if you can zoom in a little bit more on the chart. Or maybe that's maybe that's to me, but I don't know how to make.
I now
Probably.
just in a little bit more. But what I want to see is that price needs to come lower. If you are going to take right now a setup right, then the risk to reward isn't great, in my opinion. It's 1-to-1, so we need to retrace a little bit more to get a better risk to reward. You can enter, for example, like 2 ways. Take 2 entries, right? One at the start of the 4 hourly fair value gap, and the other one at the start of the 1 hourly fair value gap. Then stop loss just below the P1, 50.1, and then target the highs, the liquidity. So these are setups, but still, again, that pivot, it's not a clear pivot again. So
It's the same all over the place.
it's the same all over the place, yes. Typical Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
LDO a little bit. Going to check LDO. I think it's a little bit the same story.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I think also. Daily open. The lows of the day are the most of the times at hourly 0, so that is statistically based very good. But the pivots are almost on every chart the same, and that are not clear pivots to me. I think that is the problem.
Yep.
And I don't know if LDO has some liquidity. Yeah, we have some liquidity left on LDO right there. Here we have a gap. That is also a high. This is a daily fair value gap. For people who don't understand, price will seek external liquidity and internal liquidity based upon this one right there. We are currently still into a downtrend on the daily. So we have here pivot high, low here lower high, then a lower low. You seek liquidity right there, and then we are retracing, and then we are seeking internal liquidity. That is a daily fair value gap, and that will give us a reaction perhaps to move lower, or we reclaim that and then we can continue to look higher. But that is just based up upon TA perspective. We take out this high, but we didn't take out this one here. So let's see on the 4 hour. This one, it could hold, right? This is also not a pivot on the 4 hourly, but we have a sort of kind of an order block. If you see also on the daily open, that is resting at a good support zone. So yeah, let's look. How does it look on the end? We tap just here also into that 50-minute daily fair value gap right there. Right, step just into it. So yeah, what you also can see, because also Bitcoin is I think a little bit exhausted, like all of the coins. You can see the moves to the upside if you are going to look at structure, right? You look to structure, here we have a high and we create a low, and then we are creating a high, but not convinced to break this one. And here you can see again a high, but the pushes are getting less, right? So perhaps we can see that for the future, based on structure, we can see that the pushes are getting lower, especially on Bitcoin. For example, if you look on Bitcoin, here we have a small push after the break of structure. It's not the biggest push we have ever seen. So it looks a little bit of exhausted at the moment. But yeah, the statistic tells us that we are bullish, right? So, and let's see, right now I'm seeing ETH, just as you can see, right, ETH, take out that pivot point 1. It took that liquidity.
Yep.
Correct,
So
right?
yeah. So in my opinion, so this is exactly what we said at the start, right? So in my opinion, you want to see ETH bounce in order
Yeah,
to even consider taking any of the other setups. And if not, then probably ETH will, the other coins will do the same as what ETH did.
yeah, indeed. I agree on that.
So this is something I like to call anticipating improbable events, because you don't have, you could, if you just trade statistics, it would actually be perfectly valid to say, okay, I'm just gonna take this. I realize I'm gonna get, or there's a chance I'm gonna get stopped out, but the next 6 ones I'll win, which is perfectly valid. But personally, what I like to do is to anticipate improbable events, and one of the ways to do it is exactly what you discussed, to see, if it is a pivot actually in terms of PA a good pivot, and if not, rather stay out of the trade, what we discussed earlier. So then, well, effectively your win rate increases.
Yeah, indeed. Just look at Bitcoin in a minute. We are now based on, let's see, on statistics, we are now, what do you see on the Bitcoin chart? BTC. Pivot point 1. That is now right there. So, and pivot point 2 hourly 11. That tells us that we have some more percentages to go to get a P1, P2 flip. Do I say that correctly, right, Sergio?
Yeah, likely, yes. Hour 11 doesn't seem like a very probable time to put it in.
No, exactly. So we could see a flip based on market structure. I also shared it already into the Discord. What I want to see is based on the current 1 hourly structure. Here we have we have that pivot right here. That is the daily high of today. That is this one here. The pivot before was this one, and that one is broken by this low, this pivot here. So this is the current structure we have on the 1 hour pivot, pivot low, pivot high, and we have a retracement. So based on that, on current structure, you can long Bitcoin for creating another higher high based on that, because we are now below the 0.5, so that is discount region. And yeah, looking to the risk to reward, it's not bad to take one right here, or go for this liquidity that is resting right there. The pivot right there. Here we have a pivot, but eventually I expect Bitcoin will continue to go higher to the weekly fair value gap. We have resting at 67.3, and there we can reverse from. But I don't know if it will happen today. Because
Not right now, at least, I think.
no, I agree on that. But looking purely to market structure, this is the last current market structure on the 1 hourly. So we could see, yeah, if it doesn't hold right there, then we could see lower prices. Then I think the day will the day continues to go lower. So if we break that structure here on the 1 hour, so let's say the price will continue to go lower, then we will, I believe, to fill that right there, that fair value gap right there, that imbalance that's left behind there. We have also some liquidity to take here on these pivot points, and then we should continue to go higher from there, and that will be at least tomorrow by the evening or Friday, based on also what the statistics are saying, right? So, and we have here a great pivot point, so I believe that will hold for this week, and that we will seek this liquidity here. So if it doesn't hold here, then we should look for continue to long the multiple coins, but especially Bitcoin here at 62. So that is what I'm currently seeing.
Because as you rightfully pointed out, hour 11 is a really shitty time to put in a pivot. So both P1 and P2, so it seems unlikely that the current low will hold. So if we were to see the reversal, it will probably be somewhere in the next few hours around New York Open, but it has a very low probability of happening now.
Agree on that. I think today is not the best day for good setups, as we
Nope.
look at statistics, but also based on price action.
And this is also a part of trading, right?
Yeah, patience.
Patience to realize when there's no setup. So for me, the way I see it, and also judging from your story, is that the best play would probably be to let the daily play out. Because in terms of PA, it seems like we could be having improbable reversal day, right? So these are more improbable, but they do happen. And then be patient and position ourselves for the weekly play to further to new highs, either tomorrow or well, probably maybe tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right?
tomorrow, yeah, starting tomorrow with New York, perhaps. I don't know if there's any important news. I will check on the Forex Factory if there is any important news. Today we don't have. Tomorrow is Thursday. We have unemployment claims, so that is quite important. And on Friday we have nothing. So tomorrow we will have red folder news. So that may press the price a little bit. So it's around New York Open. So that could help us a little bit to see. Perhaps today it will be a consolidation day, right?
Yeah,
Could be.
looks like it.
Yeah.
It looks like it. Yeah, it's just that Ethereum already took the low. Bitcoin has that hour 11 P2, which is not going to hold. So we need to take out that low again. And then the question is,
Mm.
will we bounce after? So I guess the only way you could take a bullish continuation play is after we take out the current low on Bitcoin, have a bounce after that. But otherwise, yeah, I personally would stay out. But that low
Yeah,
has to go.
agree on that.
And you could also see probably, yeah, it's nice on the 4 hour. Actually, you don't even know. Let me check the 4 hour. What's the 4 hour saying? Oh wow, it's the 4 hour is very divided. Oh, but the 4 hour is almost over.
I have also a what also could happen, but it's just an idea, of course. That we will get an SFP. We have here a 4 hourly fair value gap. Here, as you can see on the 4 hour, zoom a little bit in, we have a little gap here. And that is just below the current structure of the 1 hourly, right? So we have creating that pivot right here. That was the pivot before that, this daily high right there. Then we have creating this pivot right there. But just below of that, we have a 4 hourly fair value gap. So what we could see is a SFP, swing failure pattern, then price finds support at 64K-ish, and then we could see a bounce from there. But to do with that, what I should do is look on the lower time frame, look to max structure. So right now, if you look purely to max structure, we have here a pivot low. The pivot low before was this one, and this pivot high created this low. So once we didn't only when we break that 65.4, we should go see higher prices. So just follow up the lower time frame structure from here. But also to know that hourly 11 isn't a higher probability hour to put in the two at the low. So we could see lower prices again. Then we have a new structure that is perhaps the one we need to look for continuation to the upside if it breaks bullish. So yeah, that is how I'm currently looking to things right now. So for now, sitting on my hands.
Patience.
Yeah, I think we need to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyone has questions about this?
Let me check if there is any questions. I see that the stock market has major pullbacks on news. That's also why Bitcoin is slipping.
Okay.
It's watching at the 8 minutes. So apparently there was news on. All right, yeah, no, not any real question, but I guess the main takeaway is that for now, if you would want to take any statistically significant setups, they would be to the upside. Preferably, the best one we think is going to wait for tomorrow to take a weekly long to take out the weekly high later this week. Right now, if you would want to take a setup on the daily, or a setup on the daily, then it would be to the upside as well. But as we've just discussed, the PA doesn't really line up with longs. There are still some coins that look good for longs, statistically speaking, but the TA is treating us to caution. There is slowly some bullish signs showing up in the statistics, but if there would be a long, then probably it would be best to wait because this current hour 11 on Bitcoin, the low P2, the daily P2, the daily low is a very weak one. It will likely get taken out. If Bitcoin goes lower, probably Ethereum will go lower and the rest with it as well. So if we want to see that long, then it would be during New York Open. But yeah, the PA is not what you would want it to see. So patience is key. Maybe best to wait for a day where statistics and PA do line up, unless you say I don't care about it, I just trade statistics, and I accept that there will be improbable events and that I will take the losses. That's also a strategy that really depends on what you want to do and your system, right? Is that a good summary of today?
Agree.
And it looks like Bitcoin is already going slowly towards that low.
Yeah, he will do that, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So the only long I would be interested in for the day would be around New York Open.
Yeah, I agree on that. And perhaps CRV is the only one, perhaps that will get it.
Yeah, I mean CRV is now a night. It did take out some liquidity at those lows now,
Agree on that.
but yeah, also this I would just wait for New York Open because that's the thing. You know, New York is going to be a high probability pivot time, so you can just choose to wait now. And if by New York Open the low has already been taken out, then the ID got invalidated for you.
Agree on that.
All right. Yeah, I notice on the daily time frame there's still some other assets as well. But Tim, I think you have to go, right? It's
Yeah, I need
2
to go.
p.m. for you.
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
then Tim, I want to give you a massive shout out. Thank you so much. Awesome stream. I look forward to doing this again. I'm
Me
gonna
too.
go on a little bit further. So guys, if you wanna, I'm gonna do a little bit more explanation of the statistics because I do think it's a nice day for price action and stuff like that. But again, massive thank you, Tim. Man, really appreciate it. Let's keep doing this,
Yeah,
and
totally
we'll see you
agree.
next week on the next stream.
Yes, we will do that. Thank you very much, and yeah, have a good stream, and then we speak each other later on.
All right, man.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, Tim. Have a good one.
Okay, same. Bye bye.
Ciao. All right, guys. This is my real name. Now you know. I actually don't mind not trying to actively hide that. So, shocker, my name is not Sergio. Anyway, I think there's some cool stuff going on, so let's continue a little bit on the stream. Let's hope that now I close Zoom that the lag is going to go away a little bit. Let me close Zoom because 4 years ago I bought a 3,000 euro MacBook and it's already, you cannot handle everything anymore. So it seems like I will have to invest a little bit in better software again, or hardware, sorry. Let's clean. First, let me go over some. So, by the way, for now, what we said, this one's not safe, right? The daily low is not safe, so it's best to wait right now because we know the market is going to probably, very, very likely going to go lower based on time statistics. So if you have any questions on that, I can dive into it, but it's simply because 11 a.m. is not a good pivot to do. Let me quickly go to the chat. FG scalpers, any kind of free trial at the moment? No, I'm sorry, no free trial. Terror patience is key, and when stats and TA aligns, we enter cheat engine territory. Minoma analytics. There we go, man. Agreed. Stock market, okay, I read that. So, guys, resuming today, there's no great setup right now, just for tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. We can see more dive today to get lows today's pivot, but it's risky for today shorting. Pretty much. That's a good summary of things. I mean, that really depends on your strategy as well, right? For me personally, I like to stick with the statistics. And in this case, I think, well, today the statistics were indicating bullish, right? But at some point, you're going to have like the improbable events happening. And like I said, today, the PA looked like that might happen today. So you could choose to short. You could choose to short. But in my opinion, the market is predominantly bullish. And I just prefer to take only longs, but it really depends on what time frames you're operating on and if you care. If you're confident in shorting or you're scalping, then it makes way more sense to short to begin, right? With scalping. Personally, I do not scalp. So it really depends on your strategy. XRP is bullish. I believe lows are going to be out today. Agreed. Question: which confirmation we can get? If after today's low, we will go lower. I mean, which time frame should we look in? I would probably be looking at the 8 hour and 4 hour time frames because I don't think. Well, and by the way, also the daily. So what we're doing right now is we're looking at the daily actually, right? So right now we have P1 here, P2 here. The distance stats are not going to give us anything, but as Tim did, we can go to the time statistics and we can see. And this is the main reason why I say, okay, we have to wait before taking any setups because All right, I'm on ETH right now, but let's go to Bitcoin, set the input mode to automatic. And then we see that, our 11 is just such a shitty pivot. So there's two ways it can go. We can bounce from here. We can bounce from here and then take out this high like this. But that would mean that our 11 would become P1. This happened for the last time 27 days ago. So actually not that long ago, but it only happens 2.1% of the time. Really not much. That also, even if you look at the 3-hour clusters, right here, then we can see that this is the lowest probability time to put in the first P1 from all these. So, and it's an absolutely horrendous one to put in P2. So what we can conclude is the following, that it's very unlikely to become P1. So it's unlikely that we're going to go for the high from here, at least in terms of time statistics. And then if we would say, well, if the daily high holds, then the daily low is definitely, it's even worse to put in a P2 because there's only 1.1% chance of putting in P2. And it's been 89 days ago since P2 was put in at our 11th. So the logical conclusion for this being, whoops, I need not have that. Logical conclusion for this being is that if the daily high holds, then very likely the daily low will get taken out, right? Unless we see this reversal. And I mean, if you look at the statistics, then the reversal up, at least statistically, would be more likely. But again, the statistics are not aligning. The PA is not aligning for it for me. But we know this is a very bad time to put in the P2, right? The more probable time to put in the P2 will be somewhere here from 2 p.m. onwards. Way more probable, or 1 p.m. onwards. Let's say 1 p.m. So for that, I would also go to the 3 hours. So that you can use to determine if we have to go lower. But after that, because the distance statistics are not going to give it much, I would be looking at lower time frames. Specifically, I would be looking at the 8-hour and 4-hour, which we can do now for a bit to see what's going on. The 4-hour just reset. It's 12 p.m. UTC, so we just had a new one. But what I would be looking for here, so say for example we do go lower, and at some point the 4-hour starts flipping bearish and strong bearish, and actually we have some strong bearish signs right now. Then you can aim for lower. So I would be looking at these time frames, well, specifically 4-hour and 8-hour, to decide if we're going to go lower. And there's actually a funny one because we've charted Alice, and we pretty much concluded, well, it's not a very good look for today in terms of PA. So even though it was bull, it was strong bull actually. I think I changed a little setting somewhere. Well, doesn't matter. But this is actually always the thing I look out for. So for example, if I look too long, in this case Alice, if I look too long because I would have a strong bull signal, I don't have it right now. And again, the bull signals are dependent on these thresholds, but I don't have it, so I wouldn't long this to begin with. I don't like just a regular bull signal. But if, for the sake of argument, if this would be a strong bull signal, then what I don't want to see is the lower time frames, the 8-hour and the 4-hour, on a strong bear signal. So this is something I do not want to see if I'm looking too long. To say I'm looking too long on a daily, I wouldn't do it if I see here a strong bear, right? So this is, I would say, hey, all right, I went to my daily summary page, see that Alice had a good probability to go further up. Next thing I would do is go here and check what the lower time frame is saying, or after doing my TA maybe, and now I see 8-hour strong bear. Well, then I know for the next, let's see, 4 hours at least, more downside is expected on Alice, and we can see that if we go. And it also has confluence with the fact that this is a shitty low. So we know this one has to be taken out, and it seems like we're going to take it out soon. So this is, again, patience. And this is, like, what I like about this while I'm continuing the stream is this is what I call dealing with improbable events, right? It's dealing with improbable events because it's not necessary. You can just choose to ignore it because there's always going to be a lower probability events. The purpose of trading is not trying to be perfect every time and trying to be right every time, right? If you have an edge that says like, well, 80% of the time it will not happen or it will happen, it's perfectly fine to follow that 80% and then realize that 20% of the times you're going to get stopped out, and that's okay because over the long run you will be profitable. But, you know, if there is a way where we can even increase the probabilities a little bit more in our favor, then why would we not do it? That's at least how I look at it. Maybe it's also a little bit perfectionistic, but that's what I'm looking at. So if I see right now that, you know, it is likely to go higher, but for the day, but the 8 hour is signaling to me that we're going to go lower. But if I see this, yeah, then honestly, with this, I don't care. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say. The PA is important. So we have clearly this kind of liquidation candle. Now we're just ranging in between. So in this case, I wouldn't put a lot of weight to it because it's just that you're clearly in this like compressed range, and lower and higher seems to be perfectly fine for both of them. But if I would have seen more something like, I don't know, where you had, say this was the start of the candle where we had this and then this on the start of the 8 hour. If you had something like this, or a more controlled move, then that would make me more bearish. But this on the 8 hour, yeah, no, this is just like a liquidity candle, right? Took liquidity low, took liquidity at the high, and now it's just consolidating, waiting for the next move. So now it's just building up liquidity at both sides. So in this case, you know, not so much. But anyway, what I was saying is that you can completely follow these signals still. But in my opinion, I just want to see the PA statistics line up. But to answer your question shortly, you know, I would be looking at the 4 hour and the 8 hour if I want to see further downside. And right now we know further downside is least likely from the daily P1, P2. Let's see. New York Open, king of reversals. So if it happens, New York Open best, exactly. I would wait for that. Morning, Sergio. Can you check the question above afterwards? Thank you. I think I did it now, right? You meant, yeah, in which time frame we should look in. I just did it, I think. What's up, Yelena? How are you? Good to see you. Happy that you made it. I know it's early morning for you, probably. But so that was to answer your question. But for example, here on Bitcoin, the 8 hour looks more bearish to me than. So this is what I mean, right? If I see a strong bear signal on the 8 hour with this kind of PA, then that for me would be more bearish. But at the same time, you have to realize that right now we are at an 8 hour block, which is more floppy than most. So for example, if I go to the distance statistics, and I go to the 8 hour, and I can see that the current distance right now is negative 1.1% from daily open to P1. So that is more bearish than it is bullish, obviously. So I'm talking about this distance right here. So also the 8 hour right now is showing us that, well, this high seems to be safer than the low. Obviously, a P1 during this block is stronger to begin with than this block. And we can also say that 85% of 8 hour candles will go lower than what we have right now on Bitcoin. So all in all, you know, this has confluence with our daily bias that the daily low needs to be taken out. So, you know, this is another way. This is what I mean when I say I would look at the 8 hour, right? DCR, answering to your question again. But what I really want to say or show you is the following, and that is that right now we have the current 8 hours between hour 8 and 16. Look at what happens to this number if I would select the next 8 hour candle from 4 p.m. to midnight. So right now we have more or less a 33% chance of P1, P2 flip. But if we go further, it is 42%. And that's actually something I did not expect, to be honest. That's actually crazy because normally this one has more fuckery going on, if I can put it bluntly. Wow, that's actually crazy. That is actually crazy. So this is actually pretty good. Well, the main point of it is that there's a difference between these 8 hour blocks, right? Quite significant as we can see it. So you always want, if you're looking at this space, I think you want to make sure that you're having the right 8-hour candle selected. But you have to also worry not, because in the summary page, these 8-hour candles are selected automatically. So it always filters the data based on which 8-hour candle we have right now. But this is different than what I thought I knew. But oh wait, I also have the last 5 years selected, which is something I do not like to do. I prefer to have the last 2 or 3 years selected. In my opinion, it is more accurate. And then probabilities are even more in favor of downside. Wow, this is crazy. But then this is only for downside. This is only for downside. That's why it is. Well, I don't want to make that too complicated, but for now, what it's saying is that the current 8-hour candle has, 25.4%. Only in 25.4% of the days would this happen on this candle, right? That we take out that P2 or the P1, sorry, before the 8-hour high, before the end of this 8-hour candle. 1 in 4 that would happen, so impossible, no. Improbable, yes. And then we also have that earlier confluence, as I said, is that this hour probably has to go. And therefore, we already said the New York Open would be a good time to put in a low. So that would probably be in the next couple of hours. So we can just wait. We have the 8-hour being down, and we have the daily pointing towards downside. Let me check what happens. I go here. Actually quite mixed today. It's really mixed. Bearish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish. So that's actually pretty cool, because that means that the market is undecided and there's multiple ways to go, at least on the grand scheme of things. And that does make me think, so you see that even on the 8-hour, we have bullish signals amidst very bearish signals. So OP, USDT, let me check what the exact stats on those are, but I would be willing to take a look at it. Is strong bull on both the daily and the 8-hour. Load. 50.2, yeah, so this one is actually not looking too bad. Let's just chart that one. Oftentimes you see quite some agreement in between different assets. So like a lot of them will be bullish, a lot of them will be bearish. In my opinion, this is the best thing you can see. So this one actually looks pretty decent for further upside, because the daily and the 8-hour is showing up. I know it's already pumping right now. If you go to the 8-hour, yeah. So this is actually a really nice setup that I saw just too late. But you can see, by the way, the strength of the multi-time frame page, where I just looked and I see confluence between the daily and the 8-hour, right? This is what happened. I went here. I was just scrolling to see what's going on, and here I see strong bull, strong bull. It's like, okay, that means both of these thresholds are met for both the daily and the 8-hour. So that's a pretty good sign. So I immediately went there. And then what you see is that, okay, you have the daily pointing up on the strong bull, and you have the 8-hour pointing up for the strong bull. Fortunately, we saw it just late, but it's good to just to do this one. Is that we have on the daily, we have a 15.2% chance of the daily low to be taken, and 79.1% chance of having further displacement for the day. And what I really want to see is, so I can select this, and what happens then is that down here it will give me OP. You can see that hour 9 is a really shitty time to put in a daily P1 or a daily P2, right? 5.1% over 3.6% time adjusted probabilities. So yeah, actually OP looks pretty good. And too bad we saw this a little too late because these you have to understand these 8 hour probabilities were already there as well uh, here during this whole stream pretty much. We just missed it. But so what it's now saying is that okay, this is really bad P2. This is a good P1, although you have kind of the same thing with the pivot. It's not the best pivot to be honest. But if you have daily and 8 hour confluence, it might be worth taking. And then you had that retracement after. So you have the daily P2 looking like it needs to be taken, or at least it's not a very probable one. And you have the 8 hour P1 that looks safe, and we need more displacement on it. So the 8 hour and the daily are both bullish, right? So in this case, what you can then do is you could have, well, it's too late now, but you could enter somewhere here with the invalidation below the 8 hour P1 because you know the 8 hour P1 is strong bull. So if you take out the 8 hour low, then your idea is invalidated. But you can use the daily for the target. I hope this makes sense because you know the 8 hour strong bull. So say you get in, at there. No, this is hindsight, just too late. But say you've gotten in here, then you can use this as your invalidation because you say, well, in the next 8 hours, according to statistics, the price must go higher. And then you can use this as your target because you also know that, well, this P2 is a very shitty P2. And that becomes more apparent if we go to the time-based statistics. And select OP. Yeah, see? I mean, that's only 9 days ago did we have our 9 as P2, but all in all, it doesn't look too convincing of a pivot, especially because it doesn't happen a lot. The chances of it happening again 2 times in a row, I mean, it's kind of like a fallacy there because they're independent, but still, purely probabilistically speaking, would not happen a lot. So then you could say, okay, I'm gonna take that one out. But the same goes here that the low is not too great, but this is a long you could take, but it's the same here, right? Like this high, like liquidity taken there, but yeah, all in all, if you have the daily and the 8 hour confluence like that with a shitty P2, that's something you could take. That is definitely something you could take. And it does look like price is heading a bit higher right now, not for Bitcoin yet. Still would like to see that low taken. But as we can see, there's just different behaviors. A lot of altcoins are actually doing well. I mean, look at that. But Bitcoin's kind of stagnating. Ethereum is also a little bit stagnating. Call of Thomas. Yeah, Terra, it was great RR and OP. There was actually OP was a really good trade or really good. So Call of Thomas. So there's high percent that a flip could occur on Bitcoin. No, no. It's not what I'm saying. I don't think there's high chance this flip will occur. I don't think so. I'm saying that there is high chance this low will get taken out. And if there is a long, it will be in the next few hours, but not before, at least statistically likely. But that doesn't mean that so we can get the long here, but it could end up like this, or yeah, it could do this. But this to me seems unlikely to do today. Could be we get a mega pump, but I'm not saying there's at least not statistically a likelihood that that's going to happen, right? At least statistically, that's not very likely. Not saying it cannot happen, but statistically it's not likely. I'm just saying that statistically it's unlikely for this low to hold and then we need to take it out. What happens after that? I don't know. We can see. But I wouldn't long this right here. From TA's perspective, it seems yes. Statistically, we get mixed signals, I guess. Yeah, with a shitty P2. But yeah, from TA's perspective, it seems yes. Well, I mean, the discrepancy is between the TA and statistic, right? Statistics are indicating up, but the TA is indicating that the lows are not too great and they could be taken out, which has happened now in Ethereum. Not so much on a lot of altcoins yet, so there's definitely still room to go there. So that's the problem right now that I'm having, at least for a lot of them. Right now, OP I actually thought was a very good setup, but a lot of them, the statistics are indicating up. both for the day and for the week. But the daily lows are not looking too great on a lot of assets. There's a lot of consolidation, liquidity building up on both sides. So personally, I prefer like to be tread on the side of caution there. But for example, OP was actually a pretty nice setup. So you could definitely take that. And well, there's still like a lot that statistically are still good setups. But these lows, as we talked about, I mean, I just don't like them. I prefer not to. I prefer not to trade from them, away from them. I prefer to have like if the low would have been here for the day, it would have been better. Would have been better. But still, statistically, these are interesting setups. So it's only like the statistics are indicating up. The only reason I'm saying, well, I'd be cautious is because the TA is showing that, well, it's not the most beautiful of pivots, but statistically they're still saying up. Like all these coins here are still saying upside. There's just some on the lower time frames. There's a lot that say bullish and a lot that say bearish, more or less. And well, as we see in the markets, the coins are just behaving differently today. I mean, IMX plus 8%. So we see positive and negative. But yeah, the same thing still goes. So these coins are actually still, pretty decent setups for upside. Alice, Rune, AR, LDO, OP, Engine Coin, Ball. But I don't think we looked at Engine Coin yet. I mean, this one you could try to do. I mean, look at this. You don't need to have any advanced TA to realize this is a very, very bullish coin at the moment. The one pro tip I can give, by the way, is that I personally never trade if a naked daily point of control was hit. In this case, it wasn't hit, so I always look for naked daily point of controls. If here the hour 10 was put in at a naked daily point of control, I'm not interested in it. But I mean, this is so bullish, this whole trend, that I would be more inclined to see if I see this to say, oh, fuck it, I'll just go for that. So hour 10, we can check what that means for engine coin. We just click here, watch down here in the table. We can see that hour 10 as a P2 is only 2.8%. So that's a very low probability as well. So from all the coins I've seen so far, OP and Engine Coin would be the ones that I find most attractive to take out their highs. Again, it's purely statistically higher seems likely, but in light of dealing with improbable events, I personally stay tread on the side of caution if I see these kind of pivots. I'm just looking at Engine Coin right here. So Engine Coin is strong bull in the week, strong bull in the day. So there's a lot of room to go for the week. There's a lot of room to go for the day. So also here you have this confluence between different ones. So actually Engine Coin and OP are the ones that are looking the most interesting, where I think Engine Coin has the most room to go. So if we look on the weekly, we can see exactly how much room it has to go. Yeah, so this is crazy, man. Engine Coin is such a good coin to trade. What you see here is that you only have a 5.9% probability of a P1, P2 flip happening on the weekly. Let me do that. So there's only 5.9% probability that we're going to take this out, which, this also seems obvious if you look at this. Ooh, but this is what I'm, so now I see, this is what I'm warning about, right? There's a naked daily point of control here. That's usually not something I like to see. That scares me. But in this case, I mean, 5.9 is really low, and we have this really strong uptrend here that I personally would not want to trade against, right? So I would definitely not short this, but if you hit a naked daily point of control, that's also when more improbable events or more improbable pivots are happening. But this does seem very good, and then we have a 77% chance of going higher than we have right now, right? So you have this very low engine coin and this very high. What I like to do, by the way, is if I find some coins I'm willing to trade. So in this case, I always select Ethereum and Bitcoin, because these are the ones you always need to watch. And then for this case, I have OP and I have Engine Coin that I want to look out for. It makes it easier for me to see everything. And then what I do is I usually save it in my personal bookmark. I have a daily watch list here, and I can update it. In this case, you can, if you don't have it, you can add personal bookmark here, update it. And that means that every time I deselect this, so this is my watch list, like coins I find interesting, then I can just go to my bookmarks and select daily watch list. And then it will automatically select again these assets. So what I see is that, all Ethereum, Bitcoin have a high likelihood to go higher as well. So we already established an engine coin has a high likelihood to go higher as well. And what I mean is that you rarely see. So this is what I mean. It's actually a good example. Bitcoin has a 16.9% probability in between quotations mark. More or less is a 17% probability of taking out the weekly low. P1, right? For the P1, P2 flip, likely not going to happen. And 76% chance of more distance. Engine coin has the same, it's even a higher percent of more distance, but a lower percentage chance of taking out P1. So you want this as low as possible and this as high as possible. And you can see that apparently we can get really low on engine coin for this value and still have a high value for this. So I've seen this before in engine coin. That's why it's such a great coin to keep an eye on if you see good probabilities. So even though we have such a low probability to take out the low, we still have a high probability to take out the high, which means that this is just a very, very good asset that just respects the trend very, very well. You don't see a lot of like crazy reversals happening here. And like you don't need as much distance to conclude that you are likely to go further. So we have that weekly that's likely going to go up. We're having this on a crazy up there, a crazy up there. The only remark here is that we have this naked daily point of control up there that we just hit. But I mean, it's such an uptrend. And we can see that 82% of days would go higher than what we have right now, whereas 1 in 5 days would take out the low. And then we have P2 at hour 10, and we can see that it's very unlikely to be at least P2. So Engine Coin actually looks pretty good for upside as well, based on those statistics. And you can see that a little bit more clearly here. Engine coin, crazy man. Engine coin's crazy. So I call this the inflection zone where you want to have like a certain value for P1s with bigger distance and a certain value for more distance between P1 and P2. So those two distance statistics. And the better or the bigger the contrast is between that zone, the better it is. I will actually create some metrics for that to see which assets are best for this. Actually, I must do this. I will implement it. It's already been in my to-do list. But hour 10. So I'm seeing what are the probabilities of this flipping. It's actually been happening more often lately, so that's something I prefer not to see. I need to set this to 0. Hour 10 has actually been P1 more often, and we have it at that naked daily point of control. But honestly, if you have such a bullish environment, that would probably be a reason for me to say, well, fuck, I don't really care about it. I will take the long anyway. It's really good RR. Daily statistics in your favor, weekly statistics are in your favor. And also in general, the time statistics are still in your favor. Yeah, good setup all across the board, I would say. Especially here because you have this, you have this mini range here, right? So then you're just looking for longs at the bottom of that range, targeting P2. And the reason why I would go for this, even though we hit that naked data point of control, I mean, it is actually a hard rule I have that actually not to do that. So this would be like a big exception. Just, I mean, look at this, right? You don't need to have advanced market structure knowledge to realize that this is very much an up there, and I would personally always prefer to trade with that and not against it, because you know, at some point it's gonna. I always say in the strong uptrend, the trader who is assuming continuation of the trend is going to be right many times and wrong once, and the person who is assuming reversal of the trend is going to be wrong many times and right only once, right? These kind of reversals are more difficult to predict. But for what it's worth, for the best, it would have been best if there was not a naked daily point of control that we just did here. But, you know, I do want to start closing it off because it's been 1.5 hours. And as you know, or well, if you're new, you do not know, but I like to keep my streams under 1.5 hours or max because there's so much being discussed, and there's only so much you can learn and take in. So I think 1.5 hours is the maximum sweet spot where it doesn't get too long and not an information overload. Plus, it's more manageable for people who have to watch. I remember sometimes I had to watch streams of 3 hours, and whenever I saw it was 3 hours, I didn't even try. I was like, yeah, fuck that. We're in the field of efficiency, guys. So I've talked about a lot. I know we went over a lot. I think today was a good day to show a little bit what you want to watch out for, which is also an important day, which is why I spent some more time in the stream after Tim left. I think it's really important to know what are some of the warning signs. I'm going to write tutorials for this as well later on. But I hope this stream made it a little bit more clear. Even though there is a potential for downside, we still see plenty of good setups, or at least there's plenty of statistical setups for upside. But as we just saw, OP and Engine Coin actually look most promising for further upside. But unfortunately, entries are gone, in my opinion. And Bitcoin still needs to take out that low. And otherwise, it would be improbable. But OP, Engine Coin, nice coins for further upside. Especially OP should be somewhere in the next couple of hours, as we've seen. And Engine Coin, it looks like it's already making a run for it. So this one, unfortunately, we didn't spot in time because this, you can just see how much different this looks compared to what we said with ETH, why it was not a good one. Here, you see how much difference the PA is. This is what Tim was talking about. That clearly weakening high highs. So the high highs are getting lower compared to this. Just bang, straight up. Absolute banger. Oh man, what a force. What a force. All right, guys. That's it from my side. Engine Coin looks like it's going for the high. Let's see. I'll review it later on. I want to thank you very much. If there was some lag, I'm sorry. I don't know. I think there was too much for a MacBook. Got to buy a new one. But good stream, man. Good questions. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your input. Really enjoy doing this, especially if there's some good questions, and there were definitely were today. So again, hope you learn a thing or two. Whether there's something, if you still have any questions, just drop them in the Discord. I'll be happy to ask them or answer them. Tomorrow is a Q&A stream, and the Q&A stream is specifically designed to handle some more complex questions. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Drop them in the Q&A stream questions channel, and then I'll see you there tomorrow. And obviously, any other questions, drop them in the Discord. So thank you, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you tomorrow, man. All right, ciao, ciao.